Happy Halloween, everyone! It's Alissa from Planet Alissa here with this week's What I Sold report. And since it was Halloween, I decided to wear something a little more festive, so I have on my blue wig here. This week I didn't sell quite as many things as I sold last week. Part of that is my own fault. I've been actually busy with some other stuff, and I haven't been listing very many new items on in my vintage Etsy shop. But I did still sell 13 items this week for a total selling price of $197. And let's take a look at what sold. The first thing that sold this week is this small Noah's Ark wooden play set. It sold for $20 and I picked this up at a local flea market. Next thing that sold were these vintage rolls of Kodachrome film. There was one loose roll and 3 still sealed in their original packages. They are old, they are long since expired. This is something that I picked up in a box lot at an auction. I didn't really know if it had any value. I was actually interested in other things in the box lot, and it was a good deal. And I kind of thought these were things I was going to throw out, and when I looked them up, there's actually a collector's market for old film. So these sold for $25, not bad. This is a vintage modern art poster, black and white, kind of minimalist style. I believe the artist name on this was Arthur Ritter. This was pretty cool because it was actually signed by the artist, so that gave it some more value. It sold for $40, and this was something I picked up at a rummage sale. This vintage writing paper or stationery set sold for $10, and I picked this up at a flea market, the same one where that Noah's Ark set came from. This is a new old stock set of kitschy salt and pepper shakers. New old stock is just a fancy way of saying they're still sealed in their original package. These sold for $8 and I picked them up at a barn sale. This is a pretty cool looking creamer. It's an Austrian piece. It's in the shape of a moose. Unfortunately, it's not in perfect condition and it has some chips in it. So I sold this for $8. I definitely could have gotten more if it was in better condition. I picked this up in a box lot at an auction, and honestly, if it hadn't been in the box lot, I probably would have passed it up just because of the chips. This is a vintage set of recipe cards, which sold for $7. I picked them up at a rummage sale. I know you don't get a lot of money for them, but recipe cards with the, a printed illustration on them, older ones always tend to sell, and you can pick them up relatively inexpensively, and they're nice and easy to ship. This is a vintage set of play-in cards. They were advertising or promotional cards from Low and Brow. I picked these up at a thrift store. Sadly, it's a thrift store that is no longer in business. It was a local one and I kind of miss it. But these sold for $7. Here's a vintage set of hardcover Anne of Green Gables books. If you watched my rummage sale haul video, you know I picked these up at a rummage sale not too long ago. This was something I worked a little bit with the buyer on. First of all, with books, you can always offer to ship things media mail. It costs a lot less than shipping priority mail, but it does take significantly longer. So I don't usually list it as my default, but if somebody wants to pay less, I offer that as an option. And I knocked a little bit off the price of these books, and I sold all 3 for $20. This is a vintage miniature dollhouse-sized coffee table, which sold for $16. Pretty cool. It has a metal base with a stained glass style top. I picked this up at a rummage sale along with some other dollhouse furniture. In fact, the next set that you're going to see, which went to the same buyer, and also some other stuff as well. These are some unfinished wood dollhouse furniture pieces. There's a small table and chairs and also a taller table or stand. These sold for $12. This vintage Dallas Cowboys pennant sold for $12, and if you did watch, you might have seen this was in my rummage sale haul video from a few weeks ago. And finally this week, this metal commemorative Pottstown, Pennsylvania trivet sold for $12, and this is something I picked up at a thrift store. Thank you everyone for watching, and I hope your Halloween is all treats and no tricks. Autumn's here with me for a little bit for this video. She was actually feeling a bit under the weather this week, but is actually starting to come around, so that's good. Glad to see that she's back to her usual self. Okay, have a great week everyone, and happy selling!